Hello, my name is Alina. Today we are going to talk about the schooling system and how it affects humanity and how it affects people, and how you can start to have more discernment on what are your actual thoughts and what are the thoughts of the schooling system and what is the programming. So, first of all, let's start with the fact that nobody's a victim here. Nobody's blame for no. We don't need to blame anyone for the system that we live in. It is only about coming back to our own power and realizing the power that we hold. So that is the main point that I have. Now that I have said that, I can share a bit about my journey throughout the schooling system and how I kind of view it. I have a kind of variety of like experiences, and I was quite young when I actually realized a lot of the things in the system, and I started to question a lot of things. So I started kindergarten in an English private kindergarten. It was very small kindergarten with only like little amount of kids, and it had very specific kind of like ideology to it as well. So that was very lovely. And then when I was 7 years old, I started in Finland. We call it Steiner School, but yeah, so throughout world it's called Waldorf school, and it was founded by this German guy named Rudolf Steiner. So the ideology is very different from normal school. So I started this Waldorf school in this relatively small town in Finland, and so there is much more like creativity. They take more, for example, the normal grading system, it doesn't start so early on, and you get to express more of your like kind of soul and be who you are actually, and your personal needs are much more like attended to than maybe in the normal school. So basically you get to grow as as an individual in that school. Like the teacher know you very well, like individually. So I would say that it's much more like safer place to kind of grow and to express yourself and just be, and it's not so much your personal gifts are supported in much more than in the regular school. So when I was on the 6th grade, I actually moved to Helsinki, to my father's home, and I went to a regular school. And this was still during like, yeah, like I ended 6th grade in this regular school, and that was also a very nice school because it was a small school. Now that also, like, whenever there's a small school with like less students, it's always much more better kind of atmosphere for children to grow, because there is more like it's not so hectic. And from there, I started 7th grade in a different school, which was much bigger school and with much more students and all that. And I would kind of straight away notice that you are perceived a student, not as an individual. And I started to feel very out of place. I started to feel very disconnected from my own truth in a way, and I felt like I was being pushed in this very small minded box in some ways. So I started the 7th grade there in the regular school, and I decided that I don't want to go to a normal school, like I hate it. and and I decided to continue my studies in a Waldorf school, so I changed schools. And this was a huge commitment from me because the school was very far away from our home, so I needed to wake up every morning like 5:30 to get to the school at 8 o'clock. So, and I was like, yeah, I was turning 14 when I changed schools. So, how much I hated being in a regular school. I was like, I don't want to feel this small and this like undervalued and this like insignificant in some ways, and I just want to like express so much more like my creative side and like me as a human being, instead of being put in this box and just like, in this crowd and just being one of the students, if this makes sense. Now, I'm not saying that there wasn't like good teacher. Like in every school, there's always like good people, good teachers, and all that. But the system is still very same. Yeah, and I'm not saying that there isn't any issues with Waldorf schools. Like there is a lot of and I know that it's not a fit for everyone, especially if you have any learning difficulties. Then it's not definitely a fit for those kind of children or young people. But and I hope they will like in the future maybe improve that. But yeah, so yeah, I changed school and I started to feel immediately so much better, like so much more like ease and connectedness, because there's like it's very hard to explain for someone who hasn't been there, like how it feels. And also I feel like a lot of people who go to Waldorf school, they don't actually value that as much because they don't know what's the reality, what's the harsh truth. And very fun story, you can actually spot someone who has gone to Waldorf school from other people. When I was working in this company as a manager, and we opened like this, the company opened a new place, and I started there, and there was a lot of new employees that came in. So I was at the time I was like 18 or 17 or something like that, and there were these two girls, and I looked at them, and I could straight, like I didn't know them before, so I could straight away spot that they were from Waldorf school because of the way they expressed themselves, because of the they spoke and how they moved their bodies. It's not as restricted as people who have gone through normal school. Now, of course, I'm not saying that each person is like that, but you can very easily spot that people who have gone through normal school, they are very restricted in their expression in a lot of ways. They feel like they cannot speak loudly, or they cannot have like huge these kind of expressions, or they are very like they need to fit into this small box in a lot of ways. Like it's not okay to kind of stand out from the crowd. So yeah, I straight away like I thought that it was so funny that I could spot that, and I just went to them. I was like, "What school do you go?" And they just said that they go to this very specific Waldorf school. And I was like, "Yeah, I knew, I knew, I knew it." What I kind of want to say with this message is the schooling system in general, it supports a very specific agenda, and the agenda cut off you from feeling, from your creativity, from your own desires, from your own heart's desires. And of course there's like a lot of talk about in the school, like what do you want to do in the future, what are your wishes, like what do you what feels more like what calls out for you. But the options that are given to you in the schooling system are very limited. They're inside of the box. So you are only thinking with your very logical mind. It cuts off the creative side. And like of course there are still like creative professions that you can study, but even that side is very like it's hard to be someone in the like creative sides of business. Like it's hard to make it, it's hard to be a fashion designer, it's hard to be an artist, it's hard, it's made in this very like only very specific people can do that, because it doesn't serve the bigger agenda that this world has, like so it's made very difficult to kind of get there. And yeah, what I kind of want to say is that when you start to connect with your heart, because the schooling system doesn't support connecting with your heart, with your true desires that you have in your heart, because if you were to listen to your own intuition and your own soul and your own heart, it wouldn't serve this world in the way that it wants you to serve this world. So what I'm saying is that kind of start to listen to your own thoughts, what you have, and start to question, is this me, is this coming from my soul and my own heart's desires? Does this support the energy of love and the energy of expansion, or does this support something else? Was this idea planted in my head from somewhere else, from the world? And when you do that, you would start to notice that there's a lot of thoughts that are put into your head from the system that actually doesn't serve your highest good. And if people were to start listening more of their own hearts, we would be looking at a very different kind of world. Very, very different kind of world. And when people start to do this, when they start to change their inner worlds, this world will start to change. It will not be any more reflection of our own truth. This world is always a reflection of our own inner worlds. You can create a very specific matrix for yourself in this world. You don't need to be plugged into this like bigger kind of not bigger, but this very specific box. So next time there is a dream of yours that comes from your heart, and you start to limit yourself and you start to say to yourself that this is not possible, start to question those thoughts and start to change them. And that's how you change the world. And that's how you change your own life. Yeah. This was like a full-on rant, but I was so excited to talk about this subject because I feel like I kind of woke up very early, very very early to this kind of schooling system and what does it actually serve. And even like I need to say that even in the world of school, like when you go to through like the high school and like when you get older there are teachers who very much will try to also put you into this very specific kind of box. But it was, for me, it was always very triggering. I was like always like, doesn't make any sense what these people are talking. Yeah, I hope this ignited some kind of fire inside of you. And remember, you're never the victim, but you always have the power to change your life. Okay, bye.